On my wedding day, I canceled the ceremony suddenly because of family conflicts, and I found myself standing alone in the middle of a storm of mixed emotions. For months, I had been planning this day with so much excitement. Every detail felt important. The flowers, the music, the seating chart. I imagined walking into the room filled with love and support, starting a new chapter of my life surrounded by family and friends. But instead, what I got was chaos. The problem started early that morning. My mother complained that my fiancé's family was trying to control the ceremony, while my father argued that we should follow our own traditions. On the other side, my fiancé's parents thought my family was being disrespectful and refusing to compromise. At first, I thought it was just stress and nerves. I told myself that once the ceremony started, everyone would calm down. But I was wrong. By the time the guests began arriving, the tension was already thick in the air. I could hear whispers, angry voices behind closed doors, and I felt like I was watching a bomb slowly ticking down. My fiancée looked nervous, her hands shaking as she adjusted her dress. She kept asking me if we were doing the right thing, and I tried to reassure her, even though deep down, I wasn't sure anymore. Then, right before we were supposed to start, the argument exploded. My uncle was shouting at her father about money, my cousin got into an argument with her sister, and within minutes, it became a scene. Guests were staring, some trying to calm the situation, others clearly enjoying the drama. And me, I just stood there, completely torn apart. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but in that moment, I felt like a stranger at my own wedding. My hands were cold, my chest tight, and my thoughts were racing. Should I ignore it all and move forward, pretending everything was fine? Or should I do something unthinkable? Stop the wedding before it even began? The weight of everyone's expectations pressed down on me. My family wanted me to stand by them, her family wanted me to side with them, and my fiancé looked at me with eyes full of fear and hope at the same time. And then, I made a choice that shocked everyone. When I made that choice, the room fell silent for a moment, but the silence didn't last long. Suddenly, everyone began reacting at once. Some guests gasped in shock, others started whispering, and I could hear my relatives demanding explanations. My fiancé's parents looked at me with disbelief, their faces frozen in a mixture of anger and humiliation. I could feel hundreds of eyes on me, waiting to see what I would do next. My body was trembling, but I tried to keep my voice steady, as I told everyone that I couldn't continue under these circumstances. I explained that this day was meant to be about love, not conflict, and that I refused to let our marriage begin with bitterness and division. Instead of calming the situation, my words made it worse. My father shouted that I was disrespecting the family. My mother burst into tears, and my fiancé's father accused me of embarrassing them in front of the entire community. Every sentence was like pouring gasoline on a fire that was already out of control. I looked over at my fiancée. Her face was pale, and her eyes were full of confusion. She didn't speak, but I could see the tears she was holding back. Was she angry with me? Was she relieved? Or was she about to walk away forever? I couldn't tell, and that uncertainty cut deeper than anything else. Meanwhile, the guests began leaving their seats, forming small groups around the hall. Some were defending me, saying I did the right thing, while others called me immature and irresponsible. I could hear my friends arguing with relatives, trying to calm them down, but no one was truly listening. The wedding hall had turned into a battlefield of voices, accusations, and broken expectations. I walked out of the hall for a moment just to breathe. Outside, the world seemed strangely calm. The sky was clear, the sun was shining, and people on the street had no idea that my life was falling apart inside. I leaned against the wall, trying to catch my breath, my hands covering my face. My mind was a mess of questions. Had I ruined everything? Was there still a chance to fix this? Or was this the beginning of something I could never undo? Then I felt a hand on my shoulder. When I turned around, I saw someone I didn't expect. Someone whose words would change everything that came after. When I turned around, I saw my grandfather. He was one of the few people in my family who had stayed quiet during all the chaos. His eyes were calm, his presence steady, and somehow just seeing him there made me feel like a frightened child again. He put his hand firmly on my shoulder and said, "A marriage is not about a perfect day. It's about the life you build after it." If this day has already broken apart because of pride and arguments, then maybe it's a sign that something deeper needs to change before you take this step. Those words struck me harder than anything else I had heard that day. For the first time, I felt clarity. The truth was, it wasn't just about the families. My fiancé and I had ignored the warning signs for months. We had brushed aside disagreements, thinking the wedding would fix everything, but instead, it exposed the cracks we had been too afraid to face. I walked back into the hall with him by my side. My fiancée was standing there, her face streaked with tears. When our eyes met, I knew we both understood the same painful truth. With a heavy heart, I told the guests that the wedding was officially canceled. Some gasped, others muttered, but I no longer cared about their opinions. My only focus was on the woman standing across from me. She walked up to me slowly, her voice trembling as she said, "Maybe this isn't our time. Maybe we need to find ourselves before we can find each other." It broke me, but I nodded. We hugged, not as husband and wife, but as two people who once dreamed of forever and now had to. Let it go. The guests quietly began to leave. The music was turned off, and the hall that was supposed to hold the happiest memory of my life became a symbol of what could have been. I left that day with no wife, no celebration, but with one hard-earned lesson. Love is not about rushing into a promise. It's about building a foundation strong enough to survive storms. And ours wasn't ready. And so, our story comes to an end today. But in the world of Max fables, every tale carries a lesson and leaves an impact. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you won't miss our upcoming tales here, where stories come to life.